Okay, everybody, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for being here. This is the spring edition of our Water Quality Advisory Work Group meeting. Thanks for being here and joining us, both here in the room and online. Just one second, I'm hearing an echo here. Have some patience with us. We're in a new room and trying out a new way of doing it. So, I'm assuming we're okay. All right, that's better. All right. So my name is Greg Easley. I manage the Water Quality Assessment section here at the agency, the Water Quality Division. And we've got several updates to give to y'all today. First, though, just want to mention that if you haven't signed in yet for the meeting, there's some information at the table behind me to sign in. If you're joining us online, please remember to keep your microphones muted until it's time to speak. We appreciate that. Like I said, we're in a different room today, and we may be the next time when we meet three months from now, but we'll just wait and see how things go. The agenda room is currently being renovated, so that's the reason why we're not in our normal location today. But the format of the meeting is essentially the same. We have several updates we'll go through, have different staff here at TCEQ provide those updates for you. In just a minute, we'll go through the room and introduce everybody. But same kind of format. After each update is provided, you have a chance to ask any questions that hopefully we can answer. For those who are attending online, you can type in your questions into the chat, and we should be able to relay those to the appropriate people and get answers for you there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go around the table here and introduce yourselves, give your name and affiliation, and then we'll go out into the audience and get y'all's introductions as well. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Sarant. I am the land application team leader. I handle concentrated animal feeding operations and the biosolid permitting program.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Villalba, the team leader for the stormwater team in the Water Quality Division.
Good afternoon. My name is Hannah Kobos, and I'm a permit writer on the stormwater team.
My name is Alyssa Lepday. I'm the team leader of the industrial wastewater permitting team.
All right. Why don't we start with the first row here, Lyle?
Lyle Fischler, just sorry.
Sarah Bergen, Bracewell.
Lauren Thompson, I'm with Environmental Integrity Project.
My name is Madison Taylor. I live Burns and Bethel.
My name is Lil Moore. I'm a permit writer on the stormwater quality team.
Young Yates, Renewable Resources. Patent process. Additional fuel produced water. Some do ag water as well.
Janet Sims with Peyton Hut.
Come on.
Baltasar Ramirez, TCEQ, wastewater plants and specs to be a team.
Hi, Meg Pierce Welsh with Plumber Associates. Ashley Lewis, Plumber Associates. Karen Menard, TRA.
Joseph Living, TRA.
Oh. All right. Very good. And if you don't mind just giving a name and affiliation real quick.
I was like, Sarah and me before. I'm Laura Naismith. I'm with Lloyd Gossick or Sean Thompson.
Right. Thank you so much. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and dive into our agenda. First off, we got several program-specific updates to give to you, and we're going to start off with Erica Crespo, who hopefully is online for us and be able to hear and see her. There's Erica. All right, take it away, Erica.
Thanks, Greg. Good afternoon, everyone. Rebecca, Alyssa, y'all give me a wave if you can hear me. Hopefully I'm coming in loud and clear. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. So just an update that we have on the implementation of Senate Bill 1289 is that we are heavy in the works on that initiative. The rule preamble and the rule text revisions are in legal and management review. I'll provide more details on that in the next segment of the agenda. And we're also working on the fiscal note, which is a portion of the rulemaking initiative. As well as we've made revisions to the application forms and the authorization language, but of course, those are subject to change as we continue forward in the rulemaking process. So that's a brief update on where we are or where things stand with Senate Bill 1289. I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can save them to the end. Greg, I'll hand it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Erica. Anyone have any questions for Erica at this point? You'll be coming back on a little later if you think of something. All right. Thank you, Erica. Next up, a couple of oil and gas program updates from Melissa. Yeah, try there. Try saying there, and everyone can
hear me online. Okay. I'll try to project my voice if not. So TCEQ has drafted and issued 2 general permits for oil and gas extraction facilities discharges into surface water of the state. This includes TXG 310,000 under the Texas Pollutant Discharge Elimination System program, as well as WQG 280,000 under our state-only authority. TXG 310,000 replaces existing EPA general permits TXG 260,000, as well as TXG 330,000, as well as individual Railroad Commission authorizations. WQG 228 replaces individual Railroad Commission permits. The TXG 310,000 and WQG 280,000 general permits were approved and issued by the Commission in January 10th, 2024, and are currently available for coverage. A notification package, which includes the notice of intent and core data form, must be mailed to the industrial permit team, which is MC 148 at the TCEQ Austin office. There is an $800 application fee that must be submitted online via our ePay system or mailed to TCEQ's Financial Administrative Division or Revenue Section, MC 214. Preliminary coverage for both general permits begins 48 hours from the date the NOI is postmarked. Once the NOI is received, we will ensure the facility is eligible for coverage and that the notification package is complete. And then an acknowledgement letter will be issued approximately 30 days, but we're processing them in roughly 2 weeks. So you all should be seeing those. And then as far as submitting monthly discharge monitoring reports for TXG 310,000, monthly DMRs can be submitted via the net DMR system. And then for WQG 280,000, since this is a state-only general permit, affluent reports or MERs must be submitted via paper copy to our office and compliance and our TCEQ compliance monitoring team in the Office of Compliance and Enforcement. MER templates can be found on TCEQ's website by searching TCEQ MERs or by searching form TCEQ 20708. And that's it for our general permits, unless anyone has any questions. Looks like there might have been a question in the chat.
Yeah, so question I'm seeing from Cyrus. So just to confirm, they are approved and active. Were these permits shared with EPA and did they give any input?
Yes, both of our general permits went through an extensive stakeholder period, and EPA provided a couple comments, but none of them were substantive. So it did go through a rigorous stakeholder and EPA review, and they are active as of January 10th, 2024.
All right, great. Thank you, Alyssa. We'll move on to several other general permit updates, starting with Brian Sarant talking about the CAFO or Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation General Permit. All right.
Yes, this is CAFO GP 920000, which authorizes discharge of manure, litter, and wastewater into or adjacent to water in the state from CAFOs. The current permit expires on July 20th, 2024, and we're proposing to renew the permit with some minor changes. Primary change to the GP that's being proposed is the addition of requirements associated with the use of an anaerobic digester at a CAFO site. These are the same requirements that are currently included in an individual permit for a CAFO utilizing a digester for their operation. The public notice for the proposed CAFO GP reissuance was published on January January 26th in the Houston Chronicle, the Stephenville Empire Tribune, Amarillo Globe News, and the Lubbock Avalanche Journal, and February 9th in the Texas Register. This notice was provided for a formal 30-day comment period. A public meeting was then held February 20th to make oral comments. The end of the comment period was on March 11th. Comments were received from the Duval County Groundwater Conservation District, Southeast Texas Clean Air and Water Incorporated, the Texas Association of Dairymen, the Texas Cattle Feeders Association, Texas Farm Bureau, the Texas Pork Producers Association, the Texas Poultry Federation and affiliates, and EnviroAg Engineering Incorporated. Staff is currently developing the response to comments and finalizing the draft permit and fact sheet. The only proposed change to the GP in response to the public comments is that the renewal period will not be changed to 90 days and would remain at 180 days as it is in the current GP. Finally, we plan to take the final proposed GP before the commission for adoption in June of 2024 this year. That's all I have for the GP, CAFO GP.
Okay, thanks, Brian. I'm seeing one question from Juan Ibarra. What was the name of the CAFO applying for a digester? I think it was not so much an individual CAFO, but it's just the general permits being revised to allow for the facilities covered under the general permit to add a digester to their operation, whereas existing facilities under an individual permit do have those requirements for a digester spelled out in their permit. So hopefully, Juan, that helps clarify that. But if not, certainly send us another question on that. Any other questions for Brian? All right. Thank you, Brian. Next up, I guess we've got the small MS4 general permit update from Rebecca.
Good afternoon again. Rebecca Villalba here. The update I will give you now is regarding the phase 2 MS4 general permit TXR 040,000 for the 2024 renewal. So this general permit regulates stormwater discharges from small or phase 2 MS4s, and it expired on January 24th of this year. The renewal process started about 2 years ago, and it's been a lengthy process, and we went through the approval process from EPA, which we received no comments, so that was a first for us on this general permit. We also went through the public comment period, and through the comment period, we did receive about 100 individual comments from 15 commenters, and those have been combined to be about 80 of them in the executive director's response to comments document. And then we were getting ready to get that permit issued on January 24th. But as you know, and you've been hearing in the past that we are moving this permit to be what we call a comprehensive or prescriptive general permit instead of a two-step general permit. And at the same time, we're also moving to electronic reporting. All general permits need to be are required to be submitted. All general permits require that the applications be submitted electronically by December of 2025, including the annual reports as well. So with this general permit that we're renewing, we are also getting all the applications and annual reports into Net MS4. Net MS4 is EPA's federal system, and EPA has a system, but we're working with them to develop the Texas-specific program. So because of that, there's a delay. We're working with EPA and also their contractors to develop the system to customize it for Texas. And we are finding out that Texas is different and unique, so it is taking a little bit longer. So because of that, we have decided to delay issuing the permit. So the permit did expire, and now we anticipate to issue it on August 14 of 2024 or shortly thereafter. So we're going to go to Commissioner's agenda on August 14. And either they will sign it and issue it that day or shortly thereafter. But right now the permit is in what we call administratively continuance. So the general permit is administratively continued So all operators, MS4 operators with an active authorization are granted administrative continuance, just as the MS4 general permit is administratively continued. So the existing authorizations are good until the general permit gets renewed and reissued. At that time, then MS4s will have 180 days to submit an application to renew their authorization. During this administrative continuance, however, TCEQ cannot process any notices of change requests. So if you submit a notice of change, we cannot review it and approve it. We'd have to return it because the permit is administratively continued. So no notices of change, no renewal applications, no new applications can be accepted during this period. In the meantime, everybody that's administratively continued, you need to continue to work on your year 5 annual report submitted. You need to continue to implement your stormwater management program activities. And when we do issue the general permit, we will have more specifics and guidance on what to do with that first annual report. We are getting questions right now. When is that first annual report due? So we will keep you posted on that. So anyway, just to reiterate, new small MS4 right now, operators cannot submit an application. So anybody that came into the fold because of the 2020 decennial census will have to wait until the general permit is issued before they submit an application. Currently, we are identifying that universe. We do have so far 70 cities and counties that we have identified that are going to be coming into the fold, but we're working to figure out those special districts, if they need to be regulated or not, based on whether they own or operate a stormwater conveyance system. And right now we have a list about 1,000 special districts that includes municipal districts, drainage districts, municipal water districts, all kinds of districts. So we're trying to figure out how to narrow down that list. They're more complicated. Also looking at universities, prisons, who is coming into the fold. As soon as we know that, we are going to send out a letter notification to everybody to make sure that they truly do own and operate a stormwater conveyance system so that they can be ready to submit an application when the general permit renews. So that's my update on the MS4 general permits. Any questions? Can you just speak loud, please, so I can hear you?
Is the net MS4 system ready?
So right now, thank you. I meant to say a little bit.
Might repeat the question too.
Net MS4. So we are developing it, working with EPA. We are expecting to have it done by June, which at that time, we're going to make sure that we're developing training. EPA was really good to help Delaware and Utah come up with training resources and videos. So they're telling us that we'll do the same with us. But we're also working with our small business local government assistance staff. They're attending some of the meetings on the development process so that they can understand the system as well. So we will have all that hopefully available to everybody, if not earlier before the general permit gets issued, but definitely when the permit gets issued, we should have all those tools and resources available. Just like you apply for a notice of intent right now with TCEQ, there's a steer system that you get an account. For net MS4, we're going to have to go to EPA system, which is called CDX, Central Data Exchange System. So we will also let you know when that's going to be available for people to go ahead and at least create your account. You can create your account, set up your signatory authorities, and then that way when net MS4 is available, then you can go ahead and start working and submitting your applications. But we hope that it will be a good experience for everybody.
Any other questions here in the room? We've got several online, it looks like, Rebecca. First one, if reporting will be based on calendar year, when will our next annual report be due? Having a renewal date of August is making this difficult, especially since most of us report based on the fiscal year.
And so that's precisely something that we are looking at, providing some guidance, and we'll post it on the website, and we will definitely let everybody know. Right now, we're still contemplating what would be the best way to handle that. So it might be, don't quote me yet, but it might be that the first annual report may not be due until March of 2026. But we'll let you know on that. And that way, the first annual report will be 1.5 years instead of just 6 months. But again, it's all based on how the system's going to be developed and accepting things. Some things we think they're a certain way, but then EPA and their contractors tell us it has to be a different way. And that's why precisely the reporting period got changed to just be a calendar year, because that's how EPA system works. I will let you know. Stay tuned.
All right. Next one, when will you post the response to comments online?
The general permit, the fact sheet, and the executive director's response to comments will be posted at least 8 days prior to commissioner's agenda. So if we're going to go to commissioner's agenda on August 14th, then 8 days before, everything will be posted online. When you go to the commissioner's agenda, the actual agenda is going to have links to the documents that we call the backup documents. Sometimes they post them 12 days before, but that's really when everything's going to be available to everybody to see. So right now, the documents have been reviewed and by management, and they're just on hold until that date.
All right. Next, do you know when the beta testing for online permitting Net MS4 will be available?
That's a very good question. We're hoping that it will be, like I said, maybe June, July. However, EPA has informed us, sadly, that the beta testing is going to be limited. I believe they said 5 MS4s only. So before, they had led us to believe that it could be many people. So, 10, 20, whatever we wanted. But now they said that they really want that to be limited to only 5. And I think maybe their comfort level is better since they've already unveiled this for Delaware, where they only have 5 MS4s, and Utah, and I forget who else is almost there. So I think because of that, they are having a better sense of their, of their system, and they think we don't need that many beta testers. So aside from us, state people, our SBLGA, my team, they said 5 MS4. So we will be looking at that in the future. We do have a list that I think includes more than 5. I think it's maybe less than 10 that we have compiled so far. So when it comes time to get beta testers, we will let everybody know, and I guess it'll be a first come, first serve. But we do want to have a variety, of level 1, 2, 3s, and 4s, because depending on the level that you are, certain questions will pop out. As you know, the permit, as you move up your level, you have more items that you need to address in your best management practices, your activities regarding the minimum control measures.
All right. Let's see. Where was it? Were goals discussed with EPA for modification based on feedback from MS4s? Some goals were perceived as unattainable, and originally it was discussed there may be changes.
So based on the comments that we received during the public comment period, like I said, there were about 100 comments that have been consolidated to be around 80 because some of them were similar. We did work really hard on addressing things as much as possible. We did meet with a couple of MS4s to understand their comments, to see where they were coming from with some consultants so that we can better address those. So we worked really hard where we could everywhere to address the comment, by either making a change or explaining why it was this way it is, because sometimes it just maybe wasn't clear the way we wrote it, what we meant. But we did look at all that, and you'll see those responses in the comments when it's posted.
Okay, and the next one's just a comment. I have to echo Tiffany, who was the previous question. Marking 10% of inlets would cost us thousands each year. Sorry, I'll repeat that. There's just a comment for the previous question. I have to echo Tiffany. Marking 10% of inlets would cost us thousands each year. Do you have anything feedback on that? But I can move on.
Yeah, we took everybody's comment regarding inlets and cost into account, but I'm not privy to say exactly what the answer is. But please do know that we did try to address everything as much as possible.
All right, looks like I have one more question. Will TCEQ be providing resources to help permittees? Sorry, it jumped on me. To help permittees identify newly regulated Phase 2 areas in response to recent Phase 2 rule changes made by EPA regarding the new reference to, quote, urbanized areas with a population of 50,000 or more, end quote.
So that is something that TCEQ, we are working to identify the universe. And so once we have the universe identified in the urban areas with a population of 50,000 or more, no longer urbanized areas, that term does not exist anymore. It is not urban area with a population of 50,000 or more. We will reach out to those MS4, send them a letter, letting them know that they have potentially been identified as a new MS4. They will have the opportunity, just like they did the previous cycle, to let us know if they are an MS4 or not. If they're not an MS4, they need to provide that documentation proving to us why they're not an MS4. So last time we mailed out, I think, 500 letters, and really, the universe came down to be like 200 and so, around 200 and such. So anyway, just because somebody gets a letter doesn't mean that they are going to be an MS4. We're doing our best, but like I said, the special districts are very complicated. We have worked with our special districts section in another division, and we were hoping that they had given us better news in that it was very clear to them who owned or operated a stormwater conveyance system, but that's not the case. It's not that clear. So we are going to be sending out more letters to more people than we wanted to, but they are going to have questions in there that they have to answer to sort of determine if they are an MS4 that needs to be regulated. So that's what we're doing. We do have resources already on our webpage that have whatever the US Census and EPA provided in terms of identifying, those layers. So you can go ahead and yourself identify yourself or others, depending if you're a consultant or somebody else. You can go ahead and try to identify those MS4s because the layers are there. So everything is on our webpage that hopefully is easy for everybody to reproduce. But like I said, the cities and counties, those were easy. The districts are the ones that are a little bit more complicated.
All right, one more follow-up here. We still won't see those comments until August. MS4s are trying to prepare budgets right now, and we want to be prepared.
Yes, the comments will not, the general permit and the responsive comments will not be available until the backup documents are posted.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. Any other questions on this topic? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next general permit update with Hannah.
Good afternoon again, everyone. I will be speaking on the multi-sector general permit amendment, also known as the MSGP or TXRO 50,000. This general permit regulates stormwater discharges from industrial activities and is set to expire on August 14th of 2026. TCEQ is initiating an amendment without renewal to the permit to address the two following items. First, to implement House Bill 1688 from the 88th regular legislative session, which was made effective on September 1st of 2023, in order to prohibit quarries located within water quality protection areas from obtaining stormwater coverage under this general permit. Additionally, to implement House Bill 2771 from the 86th regular legislative session, which was made effective on January 15th of 2021, to expand the applicability for non-exempt oil and gas activities. Currently, this general permit excludes stormwater runoff industrial activities associated with the exploration, development, or production of oil or gas or geothermal resources, including the transportation of crude oil or natural gas by pipeline. And this revision is in response to the transfer of state and federal regulatory authority to TCEQ for discharges associated with crude oil and natural gas exploration, development, and production facilities. The purpose of this amendment is to firstly prohibit quarries located in the new Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway from obtaining stormwater coverage under the MSGP, to include in the general permit applicable non-exempt discharges from industrial activities, again, associated with crude oil and natural gas exploration, development, and production, as well as to replace the EPA-issued NIPD's multi-sector general permit, or TXR05F000, effective September 29th of 2021, and expires on February 28th of 2026. Proposed changes to the general permit include revising limitations on permit coverage to include that quarries that are located within the new Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway are not authorized the discharge of stormwater runoff as described in the state statute under Texas Water Code, Chapter 26.553. Additionally, to expand the applicability of the general permit to include non-exempt stormwater discharges from certain oil and gas activities. Additionally, operators with active authorizations under the existing general permit, which again was made effective on August 14th of 2021, will not be required to submit new or renewal NOIs and are authorized to continue to discharge under the terms and the conditions of the existing general permit. Operators authorized under the EPA-issued MSGP will be required to obtain authorization under TCEQ's amended general permit within 90 days of the effective date of this amended general permit. We anticipate issuing this permit amendment without renewal prior to the expiration of EPA's MSGP in February 2026. Again, please note that this permit amendment will not have any impact on existing permittees. The expiration date will not change, and permittees will continue to operate under the terms and conditions of TCEQ's existing 2021 MSGP. We are currently in the concept stage of the amendment process. The draft general permit documents have been prepared and are in review with TCEQ management for approval to send to EPA. And we anticipate sending the draft general permit documents to EPA for their 90-day review and approval later this month. Lastly, for more information about exempt as well as non-exempt oil and gas activities, we will be providing the EPA's webpage for oil and gas stormwater permitting, as well as the applicable federal and state statutes. And that concludes the end of my update, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Hannah? All right, thank you. Unfortunately, Monica wasn't able to be with us today, so Rebecca is going to handle the last general permit update on our agenda.
Okay. This update is regarding what we currently call the John Graves Scenic Riverway General Permit, TXG 500,000. So in early 2023, as I've told you before, I think we've given you updates before, we started the renewal process for this general permit. This permit regulates quarries right now that are located in the John Graves Scenic Riverway that are greater than 1 mile from the water quality protected area. The permit now has expired as of March 29th of 2024. The renewal process has been delayed due to the implementation of House Bill 1688 from the 88th regular legislative session that amended Texas Water Code Chapter 26, Subchapter M, which is currently called the Water Quality Protection Areas. They've expanded the pilot program for the John Graves, and now it encompasses also the Coke-Stevenson Riverway. The Coke-Stevenson Riverway is defined in the bill as the South Llano River in Kimball County, located upstream of the river's confluence with the North Llano River at the city of Junction. So because of that, the bill also expanded the pilot program, extended the pilot program for 2 years. The pilot program was set to expire on September 1st of 2025. Now it's going to expire on September 1st of 2027. So in addition to the renewal changes that we were already proposing for this general permit, now because of this bill, we have to rename the permit. So the permit is the John Graves Scenic Riverway. Now we're going to call it the Quarries in Certain Water Quality Protection Areas General Permit. That way, if there's future legislative requirements to add new areas, we don't have to change the name of the permit. We also added definition of the Coke Stevenson Riverway. We also modified the existing definition of water quality protection areas to now encompass both Coke Stevenson and John Graves. We're also modifying the permit applicability language to encompass now, of course, the Coke Stevenson Riverway, and to expand the permitting and financial assurance requirements for those quarries as well. And to modify the permit expiration language to say that the the permit expires 5 years from issuance or by September 1st, 2027, which is when the legislative mandate is that extended the program for 2 years. So whichever comes first is going to be the expiration date. Please note that right now in the Coke Stevenson area, there aren't any quarries. But anyway, since the rulemaking was not completed prior to the expiration of the general permit, TCEQ published on December 29, 2023, the notice of intent to reissue this general permit in the Texas Register to provide notification to permittees of the administrative continuance of their current authorizations. So please note that the current general permit cycle expired on March 29, so therefore the general permit and the existing 6 authorizations will be administratively continued until the rulemaking is completed and the general permit process is completed as well. So currently, we had management briefings and approval the last couple of weeks, and we sent the draft permit to EPA on March 22nd for their review. And we're currently awaiting EPA to give us a response. They do have 90 days to do the review. We kindly asked if they could review it sooner. So we asked for 60 days. But anyway, that's what we have going on with the new quarries in certain water quality protected areas general permit. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. We'll now go to our last segment on some rule updates, and Erica is going to give one on chapter 321 and 210 rule updates, and I'm going to attempt to put up a PowerPoint presentation for her as she gives her update. Let's see. There we go. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. All right, y'all. So I know I spoke earlier about the Senate Bill 1289 implementation. I'm going to repeat a few things, but I want to also provide an overview of the changes that are being made as a result of our Senate Bill 1289 implementation to 30 TAC chapters 210 and chapter 321P. So Greg, please go ahead to the next slide. Okay, so as stated earlier, there are 2 main regulations that are involved with TCEQ implementing Senate Bill 1289, and those are 30 TAC Chapter 210 and then Chapter 321 Subchapter P. 30 TAC Chapter 210 authorizes the producers and providers and users of reclaimed water. It establishes the general requirements, the quality criteria, and the design and operational requirements for beneficial reuse activities. It also promotes sustainability and protects public health. 30 TAC Chapter 321 Subchapter P authorizes the construction and operation of reclaimed water production facilities. It establishes the general requirements and the design criteria. It also authorizes the production of treated domestic wastewater so that it can be beneficially reused in substitution for potable or raw water sources. Next slide, Greg. Okay, so as stated earlier, our current status of the Senate Bill 1289 implementation is that the rulemaking preamble and the rule text changes to both 30 TAC 210 and 321P are both in legal and management review. We're also in the process of working on the fiscal note, which we have to deal with our budget and planning staff. And we have made tentative changes to the application form and the authorization language that, of course, will be finalized as we move forward through the rulemaking process. We are not yet at the stage where stuff will be published in the Texas Register for public comment. That has to go before commissioner's agenda. And we are anticipating right now that happening around the end of August. So that's where we are on our current implementation status. Next slide, Greg. Okay, so now I'd like to provide an overview of the proposed rule text changes to 30 TAC Chapter 210. Please keep in mind that these are tentative and subject to change as we move forward through the rulemaking process. We are currently revising the definition of permitted or permitted, and we're also adding another regulation citation associated with reclaimed water activity types. Next slide, Greg. When it comes to the proposed rule text changes for that we're doing to 30 TAC Chapter 3 to Subchapter P, again, keep in mind these are tentative and subject to change during the rulemaking. Adding language that states that a tip fees or a TLAP permit is not required so long as the owner of a reclaimed water production facility is also the owner of an associated domestic wastewater treatment facility that is permitted by TCEQ, or the owner of a reclaimed water production facility has documented permission or consent from the owner or operator of an associated domestic wastewater treatment facility, and from the owner or operator of the connected collection system that is attached to the reclaimed water production facility, if this is applicable. Of course, if those ownerships are different. I would like to point out that this slide says, except as outlined in 210.5, which 210.5 said 30 TAC, chapter 210.5 says no reclaimed water can be discharged to water in the state without a tip fees permit, and TCEQ may require the use of reclaimed water if its use poses potential or actual adverse impacts to human health, soil, groundwater, or aquatic life. Next slide, Greg. Okay, language is being added to 30 TAC 321P to state that the authorization for a reclaimed water production facility will be automatically canceled if the tip fees, discharge, or the TLAP disposal permit for the associated domestic wastewater treatment facility expires, or if it is suspended, canceled, or revoked. Next slide, Drake. The definition for an associated domestic wastewater treatment facility, a collection system, and a permit are being added to the rule text of 30 TAC Chapter 321, Subchapter P. Next slide, Greg. Language is being added to 30 TAC Chapter 321P to state that a 210 beneficial reuse authorization application, 321P reclaimed water production facility application, and a complete set of engineering design plans and specifications be submitted concurrently. Next slide, Greg. Rule text is being added to state that authorizations for reclaimed water production facilities will be terminated if the permission or consent from the associated domestic wastewater treatment facility or the connected collection system is withdrawn. Also, reclaimed water production facility owners and operators must provide TCEQ with written notice within. Next slide, Greg. So in regards to how the TCEQ Water Quality Division is currently handling the issuance of 321P authorizations while we're still in the required rulemaking process, to date, since Senate Bill 1289 was enacted, we have issued one authorization, and we currently have one application in technical review, and we're also including a reopener clause in our 321P authorizations, just in case once the final rules are adopted, we need to go back in and make any changes to the work that we're doing in the interim. And also the existing statement about an authorization being automatically terminated if the associated tip fees or TLAP permit goes away is being beefed up. And next slide, Greg, I'm so sorry. All right, that's all I got. Greg, back to you. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, thanks, Erica. Looks like one question in the chat. Will 321P also apply to industrial wastewater?
I went on mute. Sorry about that. So Greg, let me make sure that I heard that correctly. The question is, will 321P apply to industrial wastewater?
Correct.
Okay, no, it only is the changes that are being done as a result of Senate Bill 1289 are for domestic wastewater only. We're not making any changes to 30 TAC 210 subchapter E. Alyssa, keep me honest. I think that subchapter E is where the industrial reclaimed water regulations are, and so no changes are being made to that.
All right, and I have another question from the chat. I'll try to read it from a distance here. Will there be improvements to TCEQ's 210 reporting and tracking? And will reuse locations and volumes used be available to the public? In other words, will the public be able to see where and how much effluent is being beneficially reused?
That's a great question. As a part of this rulemaking, we're not making those changes, but love to chat more to learn if there are any concerns or specifically what is being requested that isn't available to the public. All that reporting should be available. I know that TCEQ receives it. Our Office of Compliance and Enforcement reviews all those reportings. That is an authorization requirement. And so it is available to the public upon request. And I would love to chat more about, if there are any ideas on how to improve that access, but it is available upon request, is my understanding.
All right, thank you, Erica. Yeah, Susan, you might shoot Erica an email if you want to chat about that more with her. Appreciate the question. Any other questions for Erica? Yes, Chris.
I think I broke up and the sun broke up. To discuss receives in 5 days of notice. I wasn't quite sure what was the point there.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, go forward one more slide, Greg. Chris, you're far away from the microphone, and so I'm doing my best to hear you all the way over here from East Texas. Are you asking about, Greg, it's slide, oh my goodness, it's towards the end. The within 5 business days, there we go, that one. Chris, is this your question? Yep, that one, Greg.
Yes.
Okay, what's your question?
So the operator has to notify within 5 days if they stop operating?
Does the operator have to notify within 5 days if they stop operating?
So this change is being done if that permission or consent, if any 321P, if any reclaimed water production facilities choose to pursue this option of obtaining permission from an associated domestic wastewater treatment plant to discharge any unused reclaimed water to the collection system, if for whatever reason that permission or consent is withdrawn, the requirement that we're adding says that written notice must be provided to TCEQ within 5 business days, and that the reclaimed water production facility operations must cease within 5 business days of that permission being revoked. And so, Chris, if you're asking us if we're changing all notifications on reclaimed water production facility operations, the answer to that question is no. But for this particular requirement, if that permission or consent is withdrawn, then we are adding a requirement that TCEQ has to be notified.
All right. Thank you, Erica. Any other questions? Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, Erica. Appreciate it. Okay, let me stop sharing here. Okay, next rule updates, Brian's gonna take care of.
Yeah, I just want to get a brief update having to do with the dairy waste under 30 TAC 321 subchapter B. This rulemaking is required to implement House Bill 692 from the previous regular legislative session. That's hard to say. And is a result of the need for other means to dispose of dairy waste by a dairy operation, and required that the rules be adopted no later than March 1st, 2024. This bill grants TCEQ rulemaking authority to issue an authorization by rule for land application of dairy waste, adopt rules governing that land application by allowing the disposal of dairy waste from permitted CAFOs and unpermitted AFOs into a control or retention facility, including a lagoon or playa, and to authorize the land application by irrigation associated with that disposal. The Water Quality Division drafted an initial set of proposed rules, but they were pulled back in response to feedback received to broaden the scope of the rules. We're currently working on developing new proposed rules and hope to have the draft rules ready for consideration in early summer of this year. That's all I have on that.
Okay. Any questions for Brian? All right. Thank you, Brian. And I guess we'll hand it back to Rebecca one last time for our final rule update.
Okay, I'm going to give you the last rule update for today. This is regarding the rulemaking for 30 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 311, Subchapter H. So we are currently in the final stage of the rulemaking process to amend Subchapter H to implement House Bill 1688 from the 88th regular legislative session. That was effective on September 1st of 2023. The bill amends Texas Water Code, Chapter 26, Subchapter M, Water Quality Protection Areas by expanding the pilot program originally established for quarries in the John Graves Scenic Riverway to include now the Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway. And as mentioned earlier, the Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway is defined as the South Llano River in Kimball County, located upstream of the river's confluence with the North Llano River in the city of Junction. The bill establishes the same requirements for quarries in the Coke-Stevenson Scenic Riverway as the existing statute requires for quarries in the John Graves Scenic Riverway, requiring permitting, which includes individual permit or a general permit based on the proximity to the river, financial responsibility, inspections, sampling, cost recovery, and an enforcement program. The bill also extends the pilot program by 2 years to expire on September 1st, 2027, instead of September 1st, 2025. So on January 10th of 2024, the Commission granted approval for the publication of the proposed rule and the public hearing notice in the Texas Register. The proposed rule was published in the January 26, 2024 issue of the Texas Register to start the 30-day public comment period. A hybrid public hearing on the proposed rule was held on February 26, 2024, and the public comment period closed on the same date. We did not receive a single comment. Currently, we are conducting management briefings for permission to present the proposed rule to the commissioners for adoption, which is tentatively scheduled for June of 2024. And so that's the update on that rule. We're in the final stages.
Okay. Any questions for Rebecca? All right. Thank you, Rebecca. And I guess any final questions anyone has for us? Yes.
January meeting, y'all had mentioned building like an e-permit. I wrote down the name, e-permits IP app system for like online industrial and municipal permits to be accessible. I was wondering if there was an update on that.
There was going to be an update. I guess we decided not to do it, but that's still the plan, still the goal. I don't know if anyone has any better.
Right now, it is up and running for kind of preliminary applications. So if y'all have applications that are coming in and you would like to submit it via our new individual e-permit system, you can let myself know, and we can let our customer information and our application review processing team know. And then our team leader of the application review processing team, Mr. Erwin Madrid, he'll reach out with the information needed for that. I think it's going to be officially now announced at the Environmental Trades Fair in May, where the system's going to go live for almost all of the facilities. But right now it's kind of just a case by case. If anyone's interested in submitting those applications via the system, it's kind of a test mode right now.
Thanks. I have a follow-up.
Sure.
So when the system's up and running, will like everyone be able to view or view the application that's submitted on there, or is it only the applicants once they submit it, they can go back?
Yeah, it should be similar to like submitting for a general permit via the Steers site, where people can't just go in and be like, hey, I want to see this facility. They would still have to submit a public interest request. So it would be like creating an account via the e-permit system. You all can go in, submit your application, and it would be available. I think you may be able to submit. Actually, you can't submit updates to the application once it's submitted, but you can submit your application, and then if any notices of deficiencies are required, then you'll submit them via paper copy or email like you.
I guess to follow up on that, I was thinking that the goal was once the draft permit was prepared and you would otherwise be putting it in like a public, a library or something like that, that the goal would be instead to, or maybe to also have it available online, as opposed to what you're talking about is sort of the day you file the application, that the public could see it before it was even administratively complete or technically reviewed. So that seems sort of more complicated because then you'd have folks seeing things that weren't really maybe final yet.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the new individual e-permit system is specifically for the user as a way to facilitate submission of the application. And then I think later down the line, we're updating our web pages. So applications, once they are deemed administratively complete, will be available on our website for the public to review. So it should just simply be for y'all's purposes and then for us accepting them. But a larger update for kind of the ins and outs of that will be provided at our May Environmental Trades Fair.
Answer my question.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Alyssa. I have a question online here from Larry Woolley, Johnson County Commissioner. With a 2-year limit for states to regulate PFAS in drinking water under the new EPA limits, what measures can we expect to see in testing / regulating PFAS levels in biosolids and fertilizer products derived from biosolids and or sewage sludge?
I mean, that's more of a question for the EPA currently. I would say that they would be more extensive than the drinking water limits, but I really can't answer that right now as far as what EPA is doing with PFAS as far as biosolids go.
Just to clarify, officially TCEQ.
Can't speak for the rest of the agency, but this particular. Let's see, next question. When will the meeting summary be available online? I don't know, I guess it shouldn't take too long to get it on our website. That's usually what we do after each meeting. We'll provide a summary of the meeting as well as a recording. And we'll do the same here. We'll certainly do our best to get it up as quickly as we can, but I can't say exactly how long it's going to take, but I would be one to think before the end of the week we should have it up there, but we'll see what we can do.
I think it's 2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks? Okay, well then, as soon as we're able, we'll get it up there. Another question with regards to PFAS contamination. Do you think it would be safe to consume beef that has grazed on PFAS contaminated biosolids? Afraid I can't answer that question at this point. I lost the rest. Not sure what that is. In terms of online access, would those be administratively complete permit applications online or also the permits themselves? I guess, Alyssa, I think you were saying administratively complete applications would be posted.
Issued permits should already be available online. So anytime a permit is issued, you all can search that. Or you can submit a request to us and we can provide it to you.
I think, and I'm not quite sure yet whether the question was answered. I think there's a concern that an application is accessible to the public prior to it even being administratively. So at what time do you intend for it to be available, accessible to the public via public notice, public FOIA request or anything? At what time do you expect it should be available, accessible to the public?
Yeah. So again, right now our new individual e-permit site, that's not making it available to the public. That's kind of similar to making a Steers account. So you all can submit your electronic version of the application instead of mailing in a physical copy. Applications should be available online, similarly to how, if you were to place it in a public viewing location once it's administratively complete.
Now I'm sorry. You said they should be available online once they're administratively complete. Where online?
So that's still a web page that we're developing.
Okay, so it doesn't exist.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah, not yet, but that is in the works.
Can you call her?
thank you.
To join the meeting?
That's okay. I will say, if you have any questions about the electronic applications, you could also send an email to our what are they called? Applications processing and review team, and that I can put the email address in the chat for y'all to utilize that. But I am seeing, I don't think I'm seeing any other questions. Any others here?
When we talk about general permits, I have talked to a number of people about the possibility of another general permit, and I would welcome comment now or at another time. The general permit for the incidental discharge of reclaimed water. Like if you put it in the pond on the golf course, right now it cannot overflow unless it's storm. So there could be I envision a general permit that would allow for incidental discharge on the pond, making the clean water use on many golf courses and other areas much more practical, and even make possible ponds on channel. But there's thoughts or ideas that is well.
Erica, I don't know if you caught any of that question from Chris. Unfortunately, I didn't catch it all.
Sorry. Can you repeat it for me?
Sorry, Chris. You want to come up closer?
I've been talking to people about the possibility of a general permit for reclaimed water discharge from ponds, like golf course ponds. Right now, we are not allowed to have a discharge unless it's a storm event, which prohibits some reclaimed water uses when it seems to make sense to have a general permit that allows for the incidental discharge, not a discharge, continuous discharge, but would not be a violation if you have an incidental discharge from a storage pond.
Got it. Okay, Chris. Cool. Let's chat about that offline. I'd love to learn more, and we can discuss it. I'm not aware of there being any developments of a general permit for that, but happy to hear you out. Happy to talk more about it with you.
Thanks, Erica. Was there another question back here? Yeah, Joseph.
So you guys have had, like every other agency right now, some pretty significant retirements pending. Any chances maybe the team we might be able to get like a meet and greet of who your regulators are forward?
Do you know something we don't, Joseph? I'm kidding. So sorry. So as far as upcoming retirements and who's going to be, yes.
It's lost 3 people, 200 years of combined service. TRX, so it's pretty, right? But
Right.
as a regulated entity, getting to know who our regulators are, and just like, here's who's on these teams, these are the people you can help with these questions, you know, that would be a huge benefit to us. These meetings are great because we can see certain people, right? But we don't necessarily know everybody. Or I can go to Brian for land application problems. I have like really crazy permit questions. Who do I go to now for questions? Yeah. I know I can come to you for some modeling work and help with that, right? But just in general, I think there's a lot of turnover across regulated entities and TCEQ that might help foster better connections, better relationships, help us all be on the same page to expedite work for y'all and to get expedited work back on our end.
Okay, no, that's a good point. I mean, we're certainly open to ideas and we can certainly chat more about that internally as far as ways we can make ourselves more visible and apparent to the regulated community and to the public, you know, who's doing what and you know, who are the contacts for certain programs or areas. Erica, I don't know if you heard much of that, but you certainly chime in if you want, but.
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much. Was that Joseph that I heard say that comment?
Yes.
Did I get
Yes.
that right? Okay. Thank you so much for that feedback, Joseph.
Yep.
So our Deputy Director, Robert Sadler. I know that we do have the online directory that we have on the public face of the TCEQ website, breaks down our division and the main contacts based off a program area. That's definitely a great start. We go to a lot of professional conferences and, you know, meetings, and we have booths, like we just got done coming from Texas Water. And so we're out there. We do our mingle. But hey, Joseph, anyone else?
Oh, hey, Erica,
And we can be more involved.
sorry,
Yeah.
you're kind of breaking up a little bit. You might maybe, as much as we like seeing your face, you might turn off your video or your camera, just in case that helps with the connection a little better. And don't need to start over, but just the last little part what you were saying, maybe repeat.
Cool. Sorry about that, y'all. You know, internet service out here in East Texas can get kind of spotty. Yeah, Joseph, anybody, hey, if y'all want the regulators to have a seat at the table, to be more involved or engaged, let us know. You know, we love to develop those productive working relationships. We're all on the same side here. And so wherever there's room and opportunity, we definitely meet it. And so we do a lot, but hey, if y'all have any more input, any more ideas, let us know. But that's all I had to say, Greg. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Erica. Yeah, we can definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Right.
Doesn't have to be anything. A chance to meet and talk. Not in a problem.
Right.
Deal with seeing a problem sense, right? I think that fosters community relationships and helps make work happen better for everyone.
Yeah, those are good thoughts. I like the open house idea. Yeah, we'll certainly toss that around and see what we can do to accommodate that.
Erwin?
Yeah, Erwin Madrid's here from our APR team, applications team. If anyone want to ask anything more about the electronic application process.
Or reiterate what I said to make sure I'm not wrong.
So basically is when will the public be able to see the application first? Is it before, as soon as it's submitted, after it's administratively complete, after it's issued, when?
As far as like public posting the applications on the website, Good question, Rebecca. I think they're still working on those details as far as the publishing or posting the applications on the website. But it should be happening like when we receive it, posting the applications, and then any additional correspondence that goes with the applications, responses, that sort of stuff. And then the NORIs and the plain language summaries are already being published on the website, so those will continue to be posted up there.
With this lodge confirmed that Alyssa said that you are accepting some electronic applications now, case by case?
Yes, we are. The program is actually out there now. We haven't like done an official release as far as like to the public. We're going to be doing that at the trade fair, but we've been working with some early adopters to kind of run through some real applications. Some folks have found it without being early adopters. Sorry,
When we go offline, I'll have a specific question.
Okay. But yes, it's out there.
Do you have a sense of timeline for posting the applications online?
No, I know the agency hired opened a couple new positions of staff members that will deal specifically with that. I think, not sure, is that on CIA, I think, or I can get with my manager and see, 'cause she's overseeing that part of it. Me and my team were focusing strictly on the application itself, receiving them, doing the admin review, and, providing the documents to the folks that will be uploading those. So, yeah, if you want to shoot us an email, I can definitely get back to you with those, like a more concrete answer. No problem. Yes.
So with the online steers
Mhm.
database, we write scopes for our clients quite a ways in advance. And so I want to make sure I'm writing the scopes appropriately for them. Do you have a sense of when it will be required to use the online steers?
From what I've heard, there's rulemaking in process to update our rules to make it required per rule, not just required per us kind of thing. I'd hate to throw a number out there, I'm not sure, but hopefully within the next year, I think, yeah. It's not gonna be like something fast, like in a month you're required. I think it requires a formal rule update.
Formal rulemaking process takes, up to a year or so, or can. So yeah, it wouldn't be immediate, but yeah, that's the goal, is to change the requirements from essentially paper to electronic. So right, just take a little time.
Right, that's a recent kind of change since we started requesting folks to upload copies via the FTP site. We still need the follow-up original copy with the signature and all that, but no longer the additional copy. If we get copies, great, but yeah. but we're our IT specialists internally have developed like new software for us to use, so that's why we're requiring these or requesting the FTP uploads. So we're doing our reviews more like electronically, but we still per rule need that pesky little hand signature notarized. So we need that copy. All right.
Thank you, Erwin. Appreciate you
Sure, no
joining
problem.
us impromptu. All right, final call for questions. Okay, seeing none, just a couple quick announcements. The next installment of this quarterly meeting will be in July 16th, which will be a Tuesday. And again, whether or not, and same time, 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon, whether it'll be here, over in the agenda room, or who knows where else, so remains to be seen, but we'll certainly keep you posted on all those details in advance as best we can. And then, like I said earlier, the the summary of this meeting and a recording of it also will be posted on the stakeholder website as soon as we're able to. So with that, that's all the announcements I have. So the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for coming.